Okay, I'm Bonnie Flemister. Some of you already know me, but if you don't, I'm a nurse practitioner that actually worked in long-term care. Okay, I know what we do. I know what the nurses do. I know what the aides do. I also know that it's the aides that have the most person-to-person contact with each of the residents. Okay, I know the paperwork and supervision that the nurses have to do. I also am familiar with what your dining room services involve and how complicated that can be. And as Mimi said, the state came in and found some deficiencies, and so that's what I'm going to discuss with you. Okay, tag 240, which this is where they found that you needed some work, was a facility must care for its residents in a manner and in an environment that promotes maintenance or enhancement of each resident's quality of life. Okay. And all that really means is we try to keep our residents as safe and happy as we possibly can in this facility. And then tag 166 is a resident has the right to prompt efforts by the facility to resolve grievances, complaints the resident may have, including those with respect to the behavior of other residents. So it's not just, well, how you behave, but you're also responsible to the interaction between residents. Okay, so you've got all the stuff pretty well coming together. So what we're going to do today is we're going to kind of help pull your pieces together. So in all nursing homes, and I don't care where it is or what it is, but you're going to receive your fair share of complaints and concerns. I mean, it'll be about dining services or how cleanliness or some of the policies, or that things are missing or things are stolen, and mistreatment in some way or another, etc., etc., etc. It just comes with the territory. So complaints, the thing to do is just try and fix it. Okay? So despite the facility's best efforts, these complaints are going to happen. Okay? You're going to have concerns from families, more than residents usually, but there's all kinds of psychology behind that, and you probably know what that is. And the important thing is how the resident or family shares their concerns with you. A very, very important thing is when any resident or a family member comes to you, you need to listen attentively. If you don't, I mean, trust me, that is going to be half to 3/4 of your battle, is that you pay attention and you're listening. Because if you're listening, that gives the message that you care. And that's what everybody wants to know, is that you care. You need to, of course, record that information as carefully as you can, and then share that with whatever is the appropriate manager. You have a structured complaint and grievance policy. So complaints can be an opportunity for your facility's quality of care to lead to, okay? They don't just end up there and say, oh, this is bad, this shouldn't be happening, da-da-da-da-da-da. It's an opportunity to make an improvement. It can be a more positive working agreement or environment for the working staff, you, each one of you. If you have a complaint, if there's been a complaint and it's been resolved and everything is better, this is a better place for you to work. And it also makes a better environment for the residents to live. I mean, that just makes sense. If there's a complaint, it's been fixed, and it's better, then you've got residents living in a better environment. Complaints, it's important to have a clearly defined process in which the residents and the families can register their concerns. You have to know that there's a certain way to do it, and the families and residents need to know that there is a certain structured policy. Concerns should be addressed sincerely, okay? Listen, eye to eye, listen, act like you're listening. You should, regardless of the type of complaint, you're going to get all kinds of complaints, and complaints come in different sizes and shapes, and it also depends on who's complaining. You're going to have that complaint from someone who's a chronic complainer, okay? Every day, sometimes every hour, I told you I work with it. Every hour, it's complaint. And then you'll also have those residents and families who don't say anything. And you just about have to read their minds. So how those complaints are received and addressed shows how important the quality of care and resident satisfaction. Okay, it's important to the facility and it's important to you. And the reason it's important to you is because that's the primary reason why you work here. Okay? You work taking care of these residents and the elderly and the people who need your help because that is your lifestyle choice. You could be working at McDonald's. You could be working at a convenience store. You could be working in a grocery store. You could be doing all kinds of things, but you chose to work here because you care about these people. It also gives, when you're giving good care and the residents are satisfied as possible, then that's a positive reputation in the community. You know very well that if you want to know which hospital or doctors to take a fit that you want to go to, or your family member, you're going to probably ask another nurse, right, or another employee here in this facility. Okay, that's your reputation. Okay. It also helps maintain occupancy. Okay, if you have your facility filled to the capacity that it can carefully take care of its residents, then you don't have to worry about census. If you have a good reputation and you enjoy working here, then you're going to have a maximum occupancy. So the big complaint, or the complaint that the state was unhappy with, was your meal service. So administration and your DON and the staff has come together and made efforts to make improvement to have a more timely meal service. So what they're going to do is, who's going to be responsible for this? You are going to have a dining room manager on duty, every meal. And they have formed a meal service focus group. So your nutritional service manager, and I understand that's a new position. Okay. Your meal service, that service manager is going to in-service the staff on more timely meal services. They're going to in-service everybody and in-service on prep and procedures and manage that and observe that. And it will be done on a daily basis. You are also going to have a manager on duty for each meal, and that person will give written reports to administration. Your meal service group is a focus group, which means it's a group that comes together to focus, to pay attention to one particular problem. And that focus group is going to be chaired by your social worker. It's going to have 3 residents Then certain designated staff who will be the dietary manager, your administration coordinator, your administrator, your director of nurses, and they are going to have regularly scheduled meetings. Your meal service, it's going to be documented. The focus group is going to have a binder, and the social worker is responsible for documenting in that binder. You're going to have a point of care solutions, your POCS, that's going to be will be documented by your CNAs. Your LG with the ADLs, and your lifetime wellness documentation. So there's going to be plenty of backup for your new procedures. The assessment frequency, the CNAs are going to document on the plan of care each shift. Your lifetime wellness daily log will get done. Weekly meetings will be assessed from the meal service focus group, and then they will conduct resident interviews, interview different residents at least 3 times a week. You know, there's a lot of ways to identify your residents' needs. Remember, you're going to have those people who complain all the time, the ones who genuinely have a complaint, ones that maybe you need to look into, is this really a complaint, and then the ones who don't complain at all. But when you get your initial admission, you should be able to pick up a lot of things that these people expect. And meeting those expectations is not always easy, but it will give you some direction into where the complaints are going to come from. And if they're unrealistic, they should be addressed then. You're going to have scheduled MDS assessments. Okay, your dietary and your activities and social services should pick up any complaints before they get really bad. You have resident councils meetings. You should be able to identify any complaints in that. Your QA subcommittees, your specific requests by residents or family members. Those are the ones that you listen to very carefully. And then your ADL, looking around if your ADLs are being met as scheduled. Okay. Then you know that everything's probably going along pretty smoothly. And that was one of the things that the state inspector found, is that there were, I don't know, at least one incident where a resident didn't get a bath because of meal times. And then I'm sure that, heaven forbid, bingo ever gets rescheduled. Those kind of things. And then activity times is scheduled. So what's important? It's important to have a clearly defined process by which residents and families can register their concerns. They have to know, and you have to know how to do it, how to complain. And those concerns should be addressed and sincerely and promptly, regardless of the type of complaint. Whether you think it's silly or not, whether you think that it can't possibly be met or not, or you thought that you even met whatever the complaint is. They all need to be sincerely and promptly documented, okay, or addressed. So you have a structured grievance policy. It has to be, that grievance policy has to be in the foundation, okay, for your residents' care, because complaints and concerns are going to happen. So the staff, they should be clearly communicated to the staff, the residents, and the families. I'm sorry, what?
Just the residents.
Oh, okay. So you have a grievance and complaint policy. Okay, you have it. Read it. Okay. Take the time to read it. An effective complaint process goes like this. It has 3 components, 3 matters. Everybody needs to know how to complain. They need to know where to complain. And they need to know how it's going to be handled. How? The individual grievances, okay. That's the process in which those concerns are shared, okay, from the resident, from the family, to a staff member. They can also be one-on-one with the social worker. Remember, she's the one in charge. Or the family or resident can certainly share that concern with the department manager. That's who? Fill out the form, go to the social worker or the department manager. Where grievances will be immediately directed to the appropriate manager. Don't wait till tomorrow, take care of it today. Reviewed on a daily basis with that manager. And discussed at morning meetings. How are they handled? This is sharing the solutions. The social worker will visit with the resident family member with how this is going to be solved. The social worker will confirm follow-up and resolution with the resident or the family. They're going to say how it's going to be solved and was it resolved, and the follow-up to the efforts to resolve it. If it's not resolved in 72 hours, your social worker will refer it to administration. So when you hear a complaint and you address it with either the social worker or the appropriate department manager, you should have some kind of a solution, maybe not resolved, but at least some solution offered within 72 hours. The social worker will maintain a grievance log. Okay. So each one of those complaints will go in a particular log, and for the social worker to keep up with the department manager, with administration. Okay. The tools that you will have is this new action plan to resolve grievances and promote the quality of life. Everything that we just talked about. How to handle it, who's going to handle it, where it's going to be handled, and how it's going to be resolved. Nutrition, you're going to have a nutritional service manager, which should handle most of the problems that you've had with timely meal service. You're going to have the meal service group, and you're going to have your resident survey. So this is basically the questions that will be asked to the resident at least 3 times a week, remember? And that is, are you satisfied with the quality of food? If you're not, you need to write down why. Have the grievances addressed, have they been addressed timely, which means within that 72 hours, okay? Do you feel like you're getting your meal served within the hour and a half of the designated hour? If not, they have to say what happened. Are you able to attend activities of choice without interference of meal service? Okay. Is not having your meal served interfering with the activities? And then, do you feel any concerns you've had are being addressed? Okay. So, how do we know that we're solving things? Well, first of all, it should come up in your care plan meetings. Your meal service focus group should pretty much handle each of those complaints and decide whether those complaints and concerns have been addressed and solved, and random resident reviews. Okay, and they're gonna happen 3 times a week. So, wasn't a very long in-service, but basically just your meal service would seem to be the problem. And it appears as though your administration and the staff have really come together and put together a good plan. And this plan will work. Okay, do you have any questions?